confidence that is born in silence? What if I told you that self-confidence isn't born in front of a mirror repeating motivational phrases, but in the silence of days when you decide to cut pornography out of your life? Most men believe that confidence is something that can be bought in a book, learned in a course, or imitated by observing others. But true confidence doesn't wear masks. It doesn't need to be staged. It arises from within, like a fire that grows when the soul finally stops being consumed in secret by addiction. Pornography is a silent thief. It steals energy, steals dignity, steals the courage that should shine in your eyes. The man who consumes pornography wakes up every day with the feeling that something is wrong, but he can't explain it. He speaks more softly, looks less into the eyes, walks like someone carrying an invisible weight. And even if he pretends, deep down he knows. He doesn't trust himself because he betrayed himself in silence. How can you trust a man who doesn't keep his own word? But when the cycle is broken, something changes. In the first few days, it just seems like tiredness, discomfort, withdrawal. But little by little, the body begins to react. The eyes regain their shine. The voice gains firmness. The posture straightens. The energy that was previously lost in moments of weakness begins to accumulate like a reservoir. And it is in this accumulation that confidence is reborn. It's not magic, it's a consequence. In this video, I want to guide you through this transformation. We're going to talk about the emptiness that pornography creates inside you, how it corrodes self-esteem and identity. We're going to explore the contrast that arises when you start to break free, realizing how even your posture changes, how your eyes come to life. We're going to talk about social energy, how the brain recovers the ability to rejoice in real interactions, how dopamine returns to responding to natural stimuli, how laughing with a friend becomes worth more than hours in front of a screen. You'll also hear about stories of ordinary men who, in just a few days away from pornography, began to feel different, more secure, more confident, more alive. We're going to analyze the false confidence that pornography tries to sell, this cheap illusion that makes it seem like power but ends in emptiness. And in contrast, we're going to talk about the cycle of internal victories. Each day resisted is a brick placed on the wall of real confidence. Even the body changes. The posture, the energy, the firmness in the eyes. You realize that it's not just psychological, it's physical, because the body responds to the disciplined mind. We're going to bring ancient philosophy into this, showing that even the Stoics taught that confidence is not arrogance, but self-control. And finally, we're going to expose the mistake of comparing yourself to other men, because real confidence never comes from comparison, but from the commitment to overcome yourself. This video is not about quick techniques or tricks to appear more confident. It's about becoming truly confident. It's about recovering something that was always yours, but that pornography hijacked. Before we move forward, subscribe to this channel right now, because this series is a journey, and each episode is a new weapon placed in your hands. I don't want you to fight unarmed. And answer me, how many times have you realized that you didn't trust yourself not because the world doubted you, but because deep down, you knew you were betraying yourself in silence? How many times has your insecurity been born not from the criticism of others, but from your own conscience? Today you will discover that confidence is not in decorated words, but in silent choices, and that the victory against pornography is the first step to raising your head, looking the world in the eye and knowing, I trust myself. The emptiness that pornography creates. Pornography promises pleasure, but delivers emptiness. It presents itself as a quick escape, an immediate relief, a way to satisfy instincts without effort. But the hidden price is devastating. Because every time you give in, it's not just the body that gets involved, it's the mind, it's the soul, it's your identity that is consumed. In the beginning, it may even seem harmless. A few minutes in front of the screen, a fleeting sensation of pleasure, and that's it. But when the effect wears off, what's left? Guilt, shame, a heavy feeling that something has been wasted. And this cycle begins to repeat itself. Pleasure, guilt, insecurity. The mind associates desire with failure, pleasure with shame, indulgence with loss. And over time, this destroys self-esteem. The man who gives in to pornography doesn't realize it immediately, but little by little he begins to walk with his head down, avoids eye contact, speaks less, feels smaller in front of others. It's as if he's carrying a dirty secret that no one can see, but that he himself can't forget. And this constant awareness weakens him. He may even try to appear confident, but deep down he knows he's betraying himself. This is the emptiness that pornography creates, the disconnection between who you are and who you could be. It prevents you from believing in yourself, because there's always that voice in the background saying, "You fell again, you can't do it, you are weak." And how can you trust someone you know is lying to himself? And the more this cycle repeats itself, the deeper the hole becomes. Because pornography not only steals your energy, it steals your narrative. It convinces you that you are trapped, that you cannot change, that your identity is that of someone defeated. And even when you try to fight, the memory of past falls weighs like a chain. That's why so many men live in silent fear. They don't have the courage to take a stand, to speak firmly, to assert themselves at work or in relationships. Because deep down, they carry the feeling that they are imposters, that they have no authority over themselves. This is pornography's biggest blow. It doesn't just destroy moments, but the confidence that sustains all of life. The contrast: without pornography, the look changes. But something extraordinary happens when you cut pornography out of your life, even if for just a few days. It's as if a curtain begins to open. The world that once seemed grey begins to gain color. And the first visible change is in the eyes. In the beginning, it seems subtle. You find yourself looking people in the eye for longer. Your posture is no longer so hunched. That invisible weight on your shoulders begins to decrease. It's not magic, it's a consequence. Because when you stop betraying yourself in secret, your whole body begins to reflect that. The eyes are the mirror of the soul. And when the soul is ashamed, the eyes flee, hide, look away. But when you start accumulating days of victory, something different happens. You look forward with firmness because you have nothing to hide. The shine that had disappeared returns, and people notice. Without you saying anything, your presence changes. True confidence doesn't need to be announced out loud. It manifests itself in silence, in the way you occupy space, in the way you speak, in the way you listen. It's a transformation that begins from within, but that inevitably overflows outwards. This contrast is powerful because it shows that pornography not only steals pleasure, but steals identity. And when you eliminate it, the identity returns. You begin to remember who you are, the man you could be. And this memory translates into gestures, into posture, into energy. Men who report their experiences without pornography describe exactly that. After a few days, eye contact changes. They no longer feel constant shame. They feel more alive, more present. And this change is perceived not only by them, but by everyone around them. It's a contrast that no one can deny. The man who lives trapped in pornography has a dull look, a withdrawn posture, an insecure voice. The man who begins to break free, even if he is still at the beginning, transmits something different. He transmits life. And that's why true confidence doesn't need to be manufactured. It arises naturally when you eliminate what consumes it. Just a few days of resistance are enough for you to realize, I'm changing. I can trust myself. The restored social energy. When you cut out pornography, it's not just a habit that's broken. It's as if someone turned off a secret program that had been draining your battery under the radar. Suddenly, you realize that you wake up with more energy, that the day is more productive, that the mind doesn't seem so heavy. This energy that reappears is not supernatural. It's just yours, returning to the place where it should never have left. And one of the first areas in which this return becomes evident is social energy. The ability to be with people, to sustain conversations, to look into their eyes without looking away. In the beginning, you find it strange. The absence of artificial stimulus leaves an echo. There is impatience, a diffuse anxiety, an automatic desire to pick up the cell phone. It's like taking off a tight shoe and for a few minutes feeling the bare foot uncomfortable. The body still seeks the old mold. Give it a few days. What seemed empty becomes space. And this space begins to be occupied by something you may not remember what it was like. Presence. Being where you are. Listening without being distracted. Speaking without lying to yourself. Think of the body as a system of priorities. When pornography hijacks your circuits, a large part of the mental resource is spent dealing with anticipation, guilt, rationalization, and escape. It's an engine running with sand in the pistons. When you remove this grain, the engine starts spinning clean again, and the torque reappears at the exact point where you miss it most, in human contact. You begin to notice that the conversation flows, that the silence doesn't oppress, that the words come out without stumbling. The gaze, previously unstable, finds landing. The brain is economical. If it needs to manage the hangover of compulsion, it withdraws investment from other areas, sustained attention, planning, social sensitivity. The result is a low presence, like a weak emergency light. By suspending the trigger that drained energy, this cognitive budget is redone. The light returns to full power. This appears in the timbre of your voice, less air, more body. In the cadence of the sentences, less haste, more intention. In the breathing, less short, more diaphragmatic. It's as if the whole house was receiving energy again, and rooms that were previously dark lit up. There is a curious phenomenon. Listening improves. Whoever lives in a cycle of pleasure-guilt escape is, secretly, always trying to escape the present. The mind anticipates, calculates, concludes. When the cycle is broken, listening slows down. You start to receive the other person for real. And listening is a powerful form of charisma. People are attracted to those who give them space. Your presence ceases to be anxious and becomes a stable field where conversations can land. Body language follows. Shoulders that previously fell align, the chin rises a few millimeters, the gestures lose tremor. Nothing theatrical, fine adjustments, but cumulative. When walking, you notice the contact of the foot with the ground. When greeting, the handshake has the temperature of life and not of obligation. The sum of these subtle signals communicates something that no catchphrase achieves: dignity. And dignity in a social environment is the rarest currency. Another consequence is the recovery of humor. Not nervous laughter, but the serene humor that is born from the untied mind. Jokes make sense again. Stories are funny again. The brain is not too busy with internal urgencies and therefore can play with the world. This game of lightness, when it reappears, lubricates relationships and reduces friction. It is much easier to say no to what doesn't matter when you say yes to what is alive. There is also a gain in rhythm. Whoever lives in the compulsion-boredom oscillation usually fills voids with a screen. Without a screen, the void first screams, then it becomes space. In this space, projects fit. Social energy feeds on projects, invitations, meetings, collaborations. You find yourself more available to say, let's go, to schedule a coffee, to respond to a message with attention. Social life ceases to be a threat and returns to being fertile ground. Some describe the change in the voice as if it opened a base. It's not mysticism, it's the physiology of a less tense body. When shame recedes, the neck relaxes, the larynx finds a seat, and the air descends. The voice gains resonance, and with it comes a silent authority. It's not speaking loudly, it's speaking fully. The same goes for silence. It ceases to be embarrassing and becomes part of the music of the conversation. Whoever trusts can pause. The return of social energy also corrects small language vices, the like, the I don't know, crutches that are born from hesitation. Without the shadow of self-judgment, the sentence finds a verb, subject, and period. This doesn't turn you into a speaker, it turns you into a clear man. And clarity is magnetic. Finally, the social mirror returns something you may have forgotten: respect. Not the imposed respect, but the one that arises when others feel, without being able to explain, that you are aligned inside. People respond to this with listening, with a smile, with invitations, and this small return reinforces the path. With each true presence, the brain learns that reality pays off. The energy that was previously burned in internal friction is now converted into useful calories, human warmth. And that's how, step by step, your presence weighs again, your voice counts again, your company is good again. Social energy restored doesn't make noise, it sustains. The brain relearns the value of real interaction. Whoever gets used to excess loses the taste for the simple. So it is with dopamine. Years of overstimulation train the brain to expect fireworks whenever something promising appears on the screen. Result, what is natural, a conversation without a script, an honest workout, a shared laugh, seems pale, boring. It's not that life has become smaller, it's that the sensor has become saturated. The good disappeared under the white light of exaggeration. When you cut out pornography, a process of recalibration begins. The false brightness decreases and the contrast of the real returns. Think of a room that has spent a lot of time with the volume at maximum. When you lower the sound, the ears hurt at first. Then they educate themselves. The same thing happens with the reward system. In the first few days there is irritation, apathy, an uncomfortable nothing. It's the silence after the noise. Keep going. Little by little, things previously invisible light up. The conversation with a friend ceases to be a task and becomes a meeting. The morning sun on the face is not just light, it's warmth and texture. The workout that previously seemed like an obligation begins to release a clean satisfaction without guilt. The real world comes into focus. Neuroscience in simple language. Pornography pushes the dopamine thermostat up. The baseline tone rises. To feel something, you need a lot. Without the artificial stimulus, the tone slowly descends like an ebbing tide. When it goes down, the small starts to count. It's like removing saturation filters from a photo. Suddenly, nuances appear. This relearning has immediate social effects. Someone's smile gains specific weight. The touch of a greeting warms. The quick conversation with the barista becomes part of your day, not an interval for scrolling. There is another mechanism at play. With fewer peaks and valleys, the prefrontal cortex, the commander, returns to exert dominance over choice and impulse. You stop reacting by reflex and start choosing with intention. This changes the style of interaction. Instead of seeking validation shortcuts, likes, clicks, instant dopamine, you invest in bonds, in projects, in processes. The present returns to have thickness. It is possible to be with someone without the urgency to leave for the next distraction. The body accompanies this realignment. Walking becomes a sensory experience, not just displacement. Training goes back to being a conversation with muscles, not punishment. Cooking, washing dishes, taking a cold shower, small rituals gain dignity, and this overflows into the social. Whoever is whole in the simple is also whole with people. The other ceases to be a scenario for your pleasure and returns to being a subject, someone you can meet, serve, laugh with. Concrete examples help to see the curve. Without pornography for a few days, you notice more willingness to look into the eyes. 2 weeks and subjects you avoided in meetings flow with less resistance. A month and the workout is more productive because the head is not dissolved in fantasies. It's not about magical schedules, but about tendency. The more the brain rediscovers reward in the real, the less it begs for crumbs in the unreal. Be careful with substitutions. It is common to exchange pornography for infinite scrolling, for games, for sugar. The brain cheats. The criterion for escaping the trap is simple. After doing it, are you more present, more whole, more capable of loving? If the answer is no, it's not real reward. It's just another shortcut. True rewards return responsibility. They don't steal it. They make you better for others, not absent. There is an ancestral ingredient that returns to participate in the banquet. Laughter. Laughing together is social chemistry of high value. It oxygenates, aligns, creates memory. You don't need a script for this, you need presence. And presence is what grows when the mind stops chasing screen peaks. The table with friends, the workout in pairs, the walk with someone dear. All this is worth it again when the brain remembers that the little was in fact the much. Finally, the big turnaround. Your sense of value ceases to depend on stimuli you consume and starts to depend on contributions you offer. You leave the logic of the spectator and enter the logic of the participant. Instead of seeking the next clip, you seek the next gesture, a favor, a job well done, a word that lifts. And it is in this transition that confidence matures, because the brain, relearning the value of the real, returns to you the simplest and rarest thing in the modern world: taste for concrete life. Talking, training, cooking, reading, building, serving, everything has flavor again. And when reality feeds again, the screen loses the power to hypnotize. You discover that the self-confidence you were looking for was never in high stimuli. It was waiting for you to turn down the volume to hear your own voice. Stories of the common man. Nothing proves the power of discipline better than the stories of ordinary men. Those who don't seek the stage, but who decide to change in silence, because it is in silence that true transformation happens. They are men like you and me who one day looked at themselves and said, "Enough." One of them was shy, unable to sustain a simple conversation without feeling his face burn with shame. He lived immersed in screens, hiding in a dark room. He was not bad, he was not weak by nature, he was just imprisoned. He decided to give up pornography. The first few days were heavy, insomnia, irritation, emptiness, but after a week, something happened. He realized that he was more attentive in class. His colleagues began to notice that he participated more. It was not a miracle, it was a consequence of redirected energy. Another man worked in sales. He lived with goals, but always below expectations. He was consumed by insecurity. Every time he spoke with a client, he carried within himself the secret memory of the falls before pornography. It was as if his own voice was sabotaged by guilt. He decided to stop. In the first few days, nothing changed. But after 2 weeks, he began to speak with more firmness. The shame decreased. The result? His sales increased, not because he learned new techniques, but because his voice carried a confidence that did not exist before. And there are also the reports of married men who, by cutting out pornography, rediscovered their own presence. Before, they looked at their wives and felt distant, unable to connect for real. After a few weeks without pornography, they realized that they were more attentive, more patient, more present. Intimacy ceased to be performance and returned to being a meeting. These stories show a pattern. Transformation doesn't require superpowers. It requires decision and consistency. Confidence doesn't come from ready-made phrases, but from days accumulated in silence. Each of these men discovered that pornography was a thief in disguise. By expelling it, they opened space for the confidence, previously stifled, to breathe. And that's why you need to hear these stories. Because maybe you see yourself in them. Maybe you recognize your own face in these accounts. And if that happens, understand, you are not alone. Others have already walked and proven that change is possible. The false confidence of pornography. Pornography sells an illusion. It makes a man believe that he is in control, that he is powerful, that he has dominion over pleasure and desire. But this confidence is made of glass. A mere breath is enough to break it. Because when the screen goes dark, only the heavy silence of emptiness remains. The false confidence of pornography manifests in several aspects. The man believes he has courage because he dares to click on any video. He believes he is desired because he sees bodies offering themselves in fantasy. He believes he has power because he can satisfy himself at any moment. But all of this is a lie. There is no courage in fleeing to a screen. There is no true desire in images that don't know your name. There is no power in a pleasure that leaves you weaker after each act. And this false confidence is dangerous because it deceives. It gives the sensation of victory, while in reality, it digs defeat. The man begins to behave as someone secure, but deep down, he knows it's theater. He may even sustain his voice in a conversation, but his internal conscience whispers, "You know what you did last night." This internal fissure destroys true confidence. Pornography creates arrogance without a base. The man feels great for moments, but crumbles in real life. At work, his voice has no weight. In relationships, his gaze doesn't transmit truth. With friends, he feels he needs to exaggerate to be accepted. All because the confidence he shows on the outside has no root on the inside. That's the point. Confidence without discipline is just illusion. Pornography feeds the fantasy that you are desired, but in reality consumes your social energy. It feeds the sensation that you have power, but takes away from you the power to choose. It feeds the belief that you are in control, but enslaves your impulses. And the cruelest thing is that the more time you believe in this false confidence, the more distant you become from the true one. Because you start to think that you don't need to change, that you are already sufficient, that you are fine as you are, until one day, in silence, you realize you are empty. Your gaze is extinguished, your body is tired, your mind is weak. Pornography doesn't just steal confidence, it builds a caricature of it. It's like painting muscles on a fragile body. From afar it can deceive, but at the first impact, it reveals the lie. Real confidence is only born in the silence of discipline. And pornography is precisely the negation of that discipline, the cycle of internal victory. True confidence is not born from applause, praise, or external accolades. It is born in silence when you keep your own word. And it is here that the cycle of internal victory becomes the solid base upon which a man builds his self-confidence. Think about the first day without pornography. It seems small, almost insignificant. The mind tries to minimize. It's just one day, it doesn't make a difference. But at that instant, something great happens. You prove to yourself that you are capable of saying no. This is the seed, and every seed carries within itself a forest. Day 1 contains within itself day 100, but it only germinates when you honor it. On the second day, the mind already begins to resist. You won't endure. This is temporary. But when you get through another night without falling, something powerful happens. The internal narrative changes. It stops being, "I can't," to become, "I did it again." This change is the beginning of confidence. Not an arrogant confidence, but one that sprouts like a deep root. The intimate certainty that you are stronger than you imagined. Each day resisted reinforces this identity. It's like an echo that grows. I can. Therefore, I trust myself. This phrase is not just inspiration, it's logic. If you prove to yourself repeatedly that you are capable of resisting the most seductive impulse, you automatically begin to trust your own discipline in other areas. If you can resist pornography, you can resist laziness. If you can resist laziness, you can resist procrastination. If you can resist procrastination, you can advance in life projects. It's a virtuous cycle that begins in the bedroom but expands to the world. The cycle of internal victory also changes the way you deal with failures. Because even if one day you fall, the accumulated victories remain as memory. It doesn't matter if the count went back to 0, the built identity remains inside you. You know you've won before, and this memory fuels the courage to win again. It's like a warrior who, even wounded, remembers the battles he has already conquered and rises stronger. This cycle also brings clarity. You realize that you no longer need the validation of others to feel value. What before seemed empty is now filled by the simple act of keeping your word. You don't depend on likes, applause, or recognition. The very act of resisting is already victory. And this silent victory creates a confidence that no one can steal, because it doesn't depend on external factors, and it is in this silence that true strength is born. The world teaches that confidence is speaking loudly, is seeming secure, is staging power. But the cycle of internal victory shows another truth. Confidence is resisting in silence, and the next day, resisting again. It is the constancy that molds the identity. And when you realize that you can trust yourself, there is no limit to what you can conquer. The confidence reflected in the body. The body speaks. It has always spoken. Even when the mouth lies, the body delivers the truth. It denounces weakness, shame, insecurity. But it also reveals dignity, firmness, self-confidence. It is impossible to hide. And when you cut out pornography, it is not just the mind that changes. The entire body begins to reflect the transformation. In the first days, it may seem subtle. You walk differently, with less haste, with more awareness of space. Your shoulders, previously curved by the weight of guilt, begin to align. The chest opens, the chin rises. It is not an artificial pose, but a natural consequence of someone who no longer feels ashamed in silence. The body responds to the discipline of the mind. The gaze is the first visible sign. Men who used to avert their eyes report that, after a few days without pornography, they began to sustain eye contact for longer. This is not just confidence, it is absence of shame. And this absence liberates. The firm gaze transmits something that words cannot reach. It says, "I am present. I have nothing to hide." The voice also changes. Before it was wavering, nervous, without firmness, but when the weight of guilt begins to disappear, the voice gains body. The air descends better, the larynx relaxes, the tone deepens. You no longer speak as someone who apologizes for existing, but as someone who affirms their own presence. And this change is noticeable to everyone around. The body also recovers energy. Those who lived tired with heavy movements realize that their step becomes lighter. There is more rhythm, more disposition. This doesn't come from supplements or tricks, but from the simple fact that the energy previously wasted begins to be accumulated. The body, freed from the pleasure-guilt-exhaustion cycle, reorganizes itself. Even the touch changes. The handshake, previously loose and insecure, gains firmness. The hug, previously uncomfortable, becomes warm. The gesture, previously trembling, becomes stable. These small changes are visible signs of a confidence that is born inside and overflows outward. And it's not just psychological. Studies show that abstinence from compulsive sexual behavior can increase testosterone, improve focus, balance neurotransmitters. These biological adjustments are reflected in the body, creating a presence that others perceive even without understanding why. It's as if the environment responds differently to the new man you are becoming. Confidence is a silent phenomenon, but also contagious. When you start to change on the inside, inevitably the world around you changes the way it reacts to you. It's as if the universe tests this new identity, returning different looks, more open responses, doors that previously seemed locked. This external reflection is not coincidence. It is consequence. And often, it is only at this moment that you perceive the dimension of your transformation. How many men have already told me, "I can't explain it, but people started treating me differently." It's because when you carry secret shame, the body screams that shame without you realizing it. When you get rid of it, the body starts to scream something else. Confidence. And confidence is magnetic. It attracts opportunities, improves relationships, opens space in environments that previously seemed hostile. But here, there is a fine line. Confidence is not arrogance. Pornography creates arrogant men who feel great in fantasy, but small in real life. True confidence doesn't need to be shown, doesn't need to be staged, doesn't need to be proven. It simply exists, silent, firm, like a rock that doesn't need to scream to be a mountain. Therefore, this video is not just about abstinence, it's about identity. It's not just about overcoming a habit, but about rebuilding who you are. And this leads us to a question that can completely change the way you see yourself and your path. Before, I want you to make a sincere reflection. When you look at yourself, do you feel pride or shame? When you see yourself in the mirror, do you see someone trustworthy or someone who lies to himself? Your answers to these questions don't need to be said out loud. They already echo in your body, in your posture, in your gaze. Now, yes, here is the central question, and I want you to answer in the comments, not just for engagement, but as an exercise in self-knowledge. Have you ever felt your confidence change after a few days without pornography? Have you ever noticed, in detail, that your gaze, your voice, your posture began to carry more truth and less shame? Answer, because your answer can not only reinforce your journey, but inspire other men who are fighting the same war in silence. Philosophy of true confidence. To understand true confidence, we need to go back to the ancient philosophers, who already reflected on the human soul long before we had modern studies of psychology. The Stoics, for example, affirmed that true confidence doesn't come from what you possess, nor from what others think of you, but from the dominion you exercise over yourself. Seneca said that the wealth of a man lies in his independence in relation to desire. Epictetus reminded that no one is free if they are not master of themselves. Marcus Aurelius wrote that man must be firm as the rock against which the waves beat, but which remains unshakable. What all these thinkers had in common was the idea that confidence is not noise, it is disciplined silence. Pornography, in this sense, is the antithesis of Stoicism, because it transforms man into a slave of his impulses, incapable of dominating himself. The man who falls into it may even seem confident on the outside, but on the inside lives in war. Ancient philosophy already knew there is no true confidence without inner freedom. And inner freedom only exists when you are not a hostage to desires that weaken you. True confidence is also not exhibitionism. The modern world confuses confidence with self-promotion. Men expose themselves, scream, exhibit achievements, but all of this is theater. Real confidence doesn't need to be announced. It is silent, but irresistible. It is perceived in the way you carry yourself, in the clarity of your word, in the stability of your gaze. And here is the most important point. Confidence is not arrogance. Arrogance is dependent on the applause of others. Confidence doesn't need that. It sustains itself alone. It is born when you look at yourself and know that you are trustworthy, that you haven't betrayed yourself, that you have kept your word. There is no audience that can take that away from you, because it wasn't given by them. It was conquered in silence. This is the type of confidence that you are building by leaving pornography behind. It's not immediate, it's not easy, it's not noisy. It's slow, constant, solid. It grows like the root of a tree, invisible at the beginning, but increasingly firm until nothing can knock it down. And remember, there is no external victory without internal victory. If you want to be respected, you must first respect yourself. If you want to be trusted, you must first trust yourself. And this confidence, unlike the one the world offers, cannot be bought, cannot be faked, cannot be imitated. It is conquered day after day, choice after choice. Avoiding the mistake of comparison. One of the greatest enemies of true confidence is not just pornography, but also comparison. The modern world has transformed comparison into an addiction. Social media, magazines, movies, everything screams at you that there is a standard of life, of body, of success, of desire, and that if you don't fit into it, then you are not enough. This poison, when it enters, silently destroys the confidence you are trying to rebuild. Pornography, in this sense, is just another chapter of the same lie, because it places before you unreal bodies, staged situations, scripts planned to seem natural, but that have nothing to do with real life. The brain deceived believes that this is a reference. You look at yourself and compare result. Insecurity, shame, feeling of not being enough. But here is the truth that few remember. True confidence is not born from comparison with others, but from comparison with who you were yesterday. The Stoic Epictetus said, "Don't seek to be better than others, seek to be better than yourself." This phrase carries the secret of discipline. When you measure your value by silent progress, you find strength. When you measure by the brilliance of others, you find only envy and emptiness. It is at this point that many men fall into new traps. They cut out pornography, but start to compare themselves in other areas. They look at the physique of another man at the gym and think, "I'll never get there." They look at someone's career and say, "I'm late." They look at the love life of a friend and feel defeated. This comparison doesn't build, it only destroys. Confidence is not looking like another, it is overcoming yourself. If yesterday you fell into compulsion and today you resisted, that is victory. If yesterday you averted your gaze and today you sustained it, that is victory. If yesterday your voice was wavering and today you spoke with firmness, that is victory. The healthy comparison is this: between the man you were and the man you are becoming. And be careful with the digital trap. The same mechanism that made you seek pornography may try to push you towards other forms of dopamine. Likes, followers, virtual approval. But all of this is a trap if it is not born from who you really are. The risk is exchanging one addiction for another, continuing to be trapped in invisible bars and calling that progress. True confidence doesn't need a stage. It is not born when you are better than others, but when you know, in silence, that today you are stronger than you were yesterday. This is the safe path. This is the only standard that matters. Now the moment has come to call you to the most important battle, building real confidence. This is not an abstract idea. It is not theory. It is practice. It is discipline. It is daily choice. It is waking up in the morning and deciding that you will not betray yourself that day. It is lying down at night and being able to say to yourself, I was faithful to what I promised. Real confidence cannot be bought, cannot be learned in an online course, cannot be conquered with beautiful phrases. It is born from discipline, and discipline is born from repetition. Each time you resist pornography, you are training your mind and your body to trust you. Each time you choose not to give in to the easy impulse, you are sending a clear message to your conscience. I am worthy of my own word. And when this message is repeated, something inside you changes. You no longer need to stage power. You no longer need to imitate others. You no longer need to pretend that you are okay. Because you are okay. You know that you are building something solid, and this certainty becomes unshakable. This is the call that I want to leave today. Don't settle for the false confidence that pornography offers. Don't settle for empty praise, for fleeting validation, for digital applause. Choose the confidence that is born in silence, the confidence that no one can steal, the confidence that you carry in your eyes when you know that you haven't betrayed yourself. Being confident is not being perfect. It is being constant. It is falling and getting up, but always getting up with the decision not to give up. It is looking inside and realizing that there is accumulated strength, that there are silent victories that have already changed your identity. This is the call. Become the man who can trust himself. Because when you trust yourself, the whole world notices. Your presence changes, your voice changes, your life changes. And nothing, absolutely nothing, is more powerful than that. The confidence you seek is not in ready-made phrases. It is not in a perfect body. It is not in numbers of followers. Real confidence is in the man who gets up every day, who looks at himself and decides, today I will not betray myself. This is the true warrior, not the one who conquers external territories, but the one who conquers his own soul. Remember, pornography is a factory of cowardice. It convinces you that you are powerful, but only when you are alone in a dark room. Real confidence, on the contrary, is proven in the light of day. It appears in the firm gaze that you sustain before people, in the tone of your voice when you speak, in the dignity of your posture. It is silent, but it is undeniable. And here I want you to reflect deeply. How many times have you stopped believing in yourself because you carried the secret shame of pornography? How many times have you missed opportunities not because the world said no, but because you yourself said, I am not capable? Now think of the opposite. How many doors would open if every day you were faithful to your own word? How many people would feel the weight of your presence, not because you shout, but because your energy has changed? How many opportunities would you have if you no longer carried the silent shame that diminishes you? This is the call. Stand up. Become the man who trusts himself because he knows he hasn't betrayed himself. This is true confidence, the confidence that no one can steal, the confidence that transforms your entire life. Before closing, I want you to do two simple things. Subscribe now to the channel because each episode of this series is a new weapon for your fight. Write in the comments day 17 so that I know that you are firm on the journey and committed to becoming the man you were born to be. And never forget, this walk doesn't end here, and this was the video I prepared for you. But the war continues. The next episode is already appearing on your screen now. Click and come with me because true confidence is built day after day, choice after choice, victory after victory. This reflection in the body also creates a social effect. People start listening to you more attentively. Your presence becomes respected. Not because you learned communication techniques, but because your energy has changed. The body doesn't lie. When there is discipline inside, there is authority outside. Therefore, don't underestimate the power of the body in building confidence. Each corrected posture, each sustained gaze, each firm word is proof that you are changing. And when the body confirms what the mind already knows, no one can deny. The confidence is real.